Across the wild, animals live in ways that are often difficult for us to truly understand. Many species roam across massive territories, traveling miles every single day, while others cross entire oceans in search of food. Because of this, it's no surprise that a lot of people feel uneasy when they see wild animals confined in enclosures. Over time, regulations have been introduced to limit which species can be kept in captivity, especially when it becomes clear that certain animals simply cannot adapt to life in a controlled environment. That said, captivity does play an important role in some cases. For species on the brink of extinction, breeding programs in controlled settings can be the only thing keeping them alive. Injured or sick animals can also be treated, cared for, and eventually returned to the wild. But despite advancements in animal care, there are still creatures that humans just cannot keep in captivity, no matter how hard they try. These animals have evolved in very specific environments with unique behaviors, diets, and movement patterns that are nearly impossible to replicate. When attempts are made to confine them, the results are often tragic. In this video, we're going to explore several animals that have proven to be nearly impossible to keep in captivity, along with real attempts that were made, and why they ultimately failed. Let's begin with one of the most well-known examples, an animal that lives in the vastness of the ocean. The great white shark is one of the most powerful predators on Earth. It's capable of hunting large prey, including elephant seals, and it sits near the top of the marine food chain, rivaled only by orcas. While sightings in the wild are rare and often dangerous, many people are fascinated by these creatures and would love to see them up close. Because of this curiosity, several aquariums have attempted to house great white sharks over the years, but every single attempt has ended the same way, with failure. At first, this might seem confusing. After all, other species of sharks have been successfully kept in aquariums, including the massive whale shark. So what makes the great white so different? The answer lies in how they live. Great white sharks are constantly moving. They rely on forward motion to force water over their gills so they can breathe. In a confined space, even a large aquarium becomes restrictive, and this constant movement becomes stressful. On top of that, great whites are long-distance travelers. They migrate across vast ocean regions in search of food, something that simply cannot be recreated in captivity. There have been multiple attempts to keep them alive in aquariums. For example, the Okinawa Chiraumi Aquarium managed to hold a 3.5-meter shark in 2016. But it survived for only 3 days. The Monterey Bay Aquarium had slightly more success, especially during its Project Great White initiative. Between 2004 and 2011, several juvenile sharks were temporarily housed, with one surviving for 198 days before being released. Even then, the shark had to be returned to the wild. And since 2011, the aquarium has stopped trying altogether. In the end, it's become clear that great white sharks are not meant for captivity. Their biology and behavior simply don't allow it. Now let's move from the ocean to the mountains of Africa. Gorillas have been kept in zoos for decades, and some species adapt relatively well to captive environments. But there's one type of gorilla that stands apart: the mountain gorilla. Unlike other gorillas, mountain gorillas have never successfully lived in captivity. Attempts made in the 1960s and 1970s to establish breeding populations ended badly. In many cases, young gorillas were taken from the wild after adults were killed. Tragically, none of these juveniles survived for long. This is especially surprising given that other gorilla species can live and reproduce in captivity. One theory suggests that mountain gorillas have a very specific diet that's difficult to replicate. Another possibility is stress. These animals live in quiet, remote mountain forests, and the sudden change in environment, along with constant human presence, may be overwhelming. Today, there are only about 1,000 mountain gorillas left in the wild. Because past efforts were so harmful, there have been no serious attempts to keep them in captivity since. And honestly, that's probably for the best. If you want to see them, the only way is to visit their natural habitat, and even that requires a guided expedition. Next, let's talk about whales. If you've ever visited an aquarium, you've probably noticed that the largest whales are absent. While smaller species like belugas can survive in captivity, massive whales such as blue whales have never been kept in controlled environments. There have been a few attempts with gray whales, though. In 1965, a gray whale named Gigi was captured for research, but died after just 2 months, likely due to stress and infection. Another whale, Gigi2, survived for about a year before being released. One of the most notable cases was a whale named JJ, who was rescued after stranding herself on the California coast in 1997. She was taken to SeaWorld San Diego, where she stayed for 14 months before being released. At the time, she weighed nearly 9 metric tons, making her the largest marine animal ever held in captivity. Feeding gray whales in captivity is another challenge. In the wild, they scoop up sediment from the ocean floor and filter out small crustaceans. Replicating this behavior in a tank is extremely difficult, even with creative solutions. Ultimately, while juveniles have survived temporarily, keeping an adult gray whale in captivity is simply not realistic. Moving on to primates again, but this time from Madagascar, lemurs. Many species of lemurs are found in zoos, and for some, captive breeding is crucial for survival. But there's one species that doesn't adapt at all: the indri. The Indri is one of the largest lemurs and is known for its haunting calls, which can travel for kilometers through the forest. Unfortunately, attempts to keep them in captivity have consistently failed. Most individuals don't survive longer than a year. These animals live in small family groups and spend much of their time moving through tall forest canopies. Their diet is highly specialized, and their environment is incredibly specific. While they struggle in captivity, they have had some success in semi-wild conditions within Madagascar itself. Hopefully, this will help stabilize their population over time. Now let's head to colder waters and talk about one of the ocean's most unpredictable predators, the leopard seal. Leopard seals are rarely seen by humans, and when they are kept in captivity, it's usually because they were injured and couldn't survive in the wild. One example is a seal named Casey, who lived at Taronga Zoo after being rescued with a serious wound. He survived for several years, but eventually had to be euthanized due to illness. While it's possible to keep them alive, it's far from ideal. Leopard seals are intelligent, powerful, and unpredictable. In the wild, they hunt a wide variety of prey, from krill to penguins and even other seals. Recreating that diet and their icy habitat is extremely difficult. They are also known for their aggressive behavior. In rare cases, they have attacked humans, making them dangerous to handle. Because of all this, keeping them in captivity is both risky and ethically questionable. Now let's talk about one of the most unique-looking animals on Earth, the narwhal. With its long, spiral tusk, the narwhal is instantly recognizable. Despite being related to the beluga whale, which can adapt to captivity, narwhals cannot. In 1969, the New York Aquarium attempted to house a young narwhal, but it died within a month. A similar attempt in Canada also ended in failure, with all individuals dying within a year. There are several reasons for this. Narwhals live in extremely cold, clean Arctic waters. Their tusks are filled with nerve endings that help them detect subtle changes in their environment. In captivity, the water conditions are completely different, which likely causes stress. They are also highly sensitive to noise and rely on strong social bonds within their groups. All of this makes aquariums a terrible environment for them. To see a narwhal, you have to go to the Arctic. There's simply no other way. Finally, let's look at one of the largest reptiles in the world, the Leatherback Sea Turtle. These massive turtles can weigh up to 500 kilograms and grow over 2.5 meters long. Unlike other turtles, they are built for deep diving and long-distance travel. In captivity, they struggle badly. Leatherbacks are constantly moving in the wild, and in tanks, they often collide with walls and injure themselves. They also have a very specific diet, mainly consisting of jellyfish, which is hard to replicate. Young individuals are sometimes kept temporarily for research or rehabilitation, but adults cannot be maintained in captivity. One example involved a turtle named York who was rescued after ingesting plastic. After treatment at the South Carolina Aquarium, he was successfully released back into the ocean. Today, any leatherbacks in human care are there for conservation purposes only. As you can see, there are many animals that simply do not belong in captivity, whether it's because of their size, behavior, diet, or sensitivity. These species remind us that nature cannot always be controlled or recreated. There are many more animals that could be added to this list, and if you have any in mind, feel free to share them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.